mmepawa na huko. But for this thing,
okay, who controls? Mimi nashanga who manages the university.
Held ransom rob students stop live broadcast at University of Nairobi. Tortured and left for dead, Isiolo kidnapped victim appeals for help. And in sports, Alfred Kipketer strikes Kenya's second gold at the World Youth Championships in Ukraine. Many thanks for joining us. Now, the stage is set for the epic legal battle at the High Court in which Wiper Makueni Senate candidate Kathy Kilonzo seeks to overturn the IEBC tribunal decision that revoked her clearance. Chief Justice Willie Mutunga has constituted a 3-judge bench that will hear Kathy Kilonzo's petition against the IEBC. High Court judges Weldon Korir, Mumbi Ngugi and Richard Mwongo have been appointed to the 3-judge bench that will hear the case and will hold their first sitting on Monday morning. The 3 take over from Justice Isaac Lenaola, who ruled himself out of the case, saying he was uncomfortable hearing the case filed by lawyer Kathy Kilonzo. Kathy wants the High Court to reverse the decision by the IEBC Complaints Tribunal that locked her out of the by-election that is scheduled for the 26th of July. Now, elsewhere, governors have opposed the National Assembly's move to clip their powers, saying the members of parliament have resorted to belittling other constitutional offices instead of undertaking house businesses of national importance. This, as the Wiper Party claimed, there are forces hell-bent to cripple devolution at its infancy stage, advances that should be fought and rejected. KTN Samogina reports on the devolution debate that continues to rage on.
My family, let me say, gentlemen.
The Tana River County Governor Hussein Dado blasted the National Assembly for failing to deliberate on key national issues at hand, instead picking up wars with the governors. Speaking in Hola Town after the swearing-in of his cabinet officials, the governor urged members of parliament to stick to their roles as defined in the constitution without precipitating undue friction between the executive and the legislature.
Hata kama unataka kumfurahisha mkubwa wako, mambo ya psychophancy iliisha. Tunaomba tafadhali isiwe mnaanza kuingilia serikali kwa mara ya kwanza. Mwananchi katika kila kona ya Kenya amejiona kwamba ameshika keki ya Kenya, na serikali hiyo inaongozwa na governor wao katika kila county.
On the same breath, court leadership is equally sounding the alarm bells. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka warned of a scheme to muzzle devolution at its initial stage. Kalonzo says Kenyans should reject attempts to frustrate devolution in the wake of the National Assembly's motion to clip the powers of county governors.
Mimi nataka kusema watu wa CORD wasiingie mtego wa Jubilee. Kwa wengine wameonekana wakikashifu magavana. Msimamo wetu kama CORD ni devolution. Mamlaka yateremshwe mashinani. Kama kuna governor mwenye makosa kidogo haidhuru, lakini you cannot attack devolution.
Their heads must just be aided to do the right thing. What we want to caution the governors is to be prudent. But it is not for the MPs to say.
Governors have been on the receiving end for abusing their powers, from having wasteful budgets and assuming titles perceived condescending to the president. The National Assembly now wants their powers checked, but governors argue the National Assembly is out to undermine their institution.
Object and the principle of devolution, we are losing it if we are not very careful. We are losing it. If we are not very careful, we have reduced the powers of the president. You saw the way he was talking to teachers. He's begging teachers. The president is begging teachers, and the governors are chasing staff.
My governors wamekuwa imperial presidents, wanajipenda, lazima wana nguvu zaidi zipunguzwe. Ninaambia ndugu zangu, kila mtu ameundwa na katiba na sheria ya Kenya. Shika laini yako na sisi tushike laini yetu. Tusianze kukwaruzana.
Essentially, the National Assembly has opened up another battle frontier, directly touching on the devolution process even before the dust settles on its war with the Senate. Samogina, KTN, Nairobi.
The only female member of the seven bearded sisters of the Second Liberation, Philomena Chege, was laid to rest today. The former member of parliament was buried in an emotional ceremony at her home in Lesos, Nandi County. During her burial, parliamentarians were asked to champion for the rights of the ordinary Mwananchi rather than protect their own selfish needs. Catherine Omantho has the details.
It was the end of the road for Chelangat Mutai, but she had lived long enough to see the promulgation and the implementation of the Kenyan Constitution of 2010. This was the culmination of what she and 6 others fought for, what has come to be known as the Second Liberation. Chelangat, the first female Kalenjin member of parliament, was part of a renegade group in the August House known as the Seven Bearded Sisters. The group, branded by the then Minister for Constitutional Affairs Charles Njonjo, included Koigi Wamwere, Abuya, James Orengo, Lawrence Sifuna, Chibule Watsuma and Machengu Wamachofi. Notably, Chelangat was the only woman, and not all of the men had beards.
Chelangat Mutai alistahili kuzikwa kupewa mazishi ya kiserikali.
Chelangat was buried with a lesson to other members of parliament.
Siku hiyo au siku hizo, among 108 members of parliament, na mshahara ilikuwa shilingi 3,000 na allowance 5,000, 8,000. Na hapana nunuliwa. Saa hii tuko na CDF na muomba waheshimiwa msaidie wananchi.
The burial was conducted by Eldoret's Catholic Bishop Cornelius Korir. 64-year-old Chelangat passed away at the Kenyatta National Hospital last week after suffering a heart attack. She is survived by 3 adopted children. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
Let's now get some good news. In just 2 weeks after British drilling company Tullow Oil announced it had doubled estimates of net oil in Turkana, a Canadian firm, Van Oil Energy, also prospecting in Kenya, has struck viable quantities of oil in northeastern Kenya. The oil has been discovered in Modogashe area along the Garissa-Isiolo border and is expected to produce the highest amount of oil in the country, beating the Ngamia well that was discovered by Tullow Oil last year. Najma Ismail has the details.
Just like in Turkana, this discovery in northeastern Kenya brought about mixed reactions amongst residents of Garissa and Isiolo. Differences already emerging over the exact location where the oil was discovered, prompting several leaders from the area to convene a meeting to discuss the issue.
It's deep in interior Garissa, so you will not say, we are very sure that it is in our, if you look at the maps and where the blocks are, you will certainly know where this project is.
Francis Karanja, who is the CEO of Van Oil Company, says drilling of the well will cost much more than previous discoveries.
For this particular well, there's 60 million barrels of oil, and there are so many other structures which are similar to that. The whole area, if oil becomes an oil field, then it could be a very big oil field.
On his part, Garissa Governor Nadhif Jamak hailed the discovery, saying his people will work with Van Oil hand in hand to ensure the project benefits everyone in the community.
The second phase, which is now the drill testing phase, and we will ensure that the community continues to give the support that they used to give the company.
It is anticipated that this latest oil discovery will transform the lives of Garissa residents by creating job opportunities and raising the standards of living. Najma Ismail, KTN.
Let's look at security matters now, and residents of Kisii County are living in fear after a spate of taxi drivers' kidnappings rocked the area. Kidnappings of taxi drivers have been on the rise in the recent past, with victims disappearing, never to be found. Hussein Mohammed has more.
Only a mother knows the pain of losing a child. Joyce Kwamboka is the mother to Wycliffe Nyaragi, who went missing over a week ago. He was last seen alive on the 2nd of this month.
Kamuka Friday kwenda Keroka kumtafuta sasa. Kufika huko nikapata ni ukweli, kila watu wanajua mtoto wangu hayuko kutoka Wednesday.
Nyaragi, who was employed by his cousin to operate a taxi at Keroka town, left his home in Nyaribari Masaba and went to work but did not return that night.
Nikaamka nikaenda kwa kazi. Hiyo siku mzima kuonekana huko kwa stage. Saa kidogo za majioni ndio niliozea rafiki yake wa taxi. Akaniambia jamwana tangu tangu asubuhi. Ndio alianza kuulizia watu wakasema hawajamuona.
For the past 5 years, the residents have lost 11 cars and 6 people have gone missing, some never to be found. The chairman of Zonic Taxi Association says the kidnapping cases on taxi drivers on the rise and urges the police to enforce security.
Upande wa security, I state it firmly that it is very poor. Kwa sababu kama ingekuwa na security ya kutosha vile inatakikana, hiyo ni kitu wangefuatilia almost immediately. Because kila police station kulingana na ile kujua kwangu wako na facilities ya kutrack numbers.
Siku hiyo tumepeleka mama mwingine customer kwenda Sen Gideon. Kufika Sen Gideon kwake tukapata kiketi imefunguliwa, watchman amefungwa. Sasa tumeanza wale waishi wakakuja wakatanganya gari wanakuwa na uniform wakaweka uniform ya police kama ya police.
For now, amidst the fear, Nyarangi Homestead clings to the hope that police intervention will yield positive results and see the return of their son. This despite grim statistics that indicate that out of 11 taxi drivers who were hired in similar circumstances in the year 2008 and 2011, only 5 were found. Hussein Mohammed, KTN.
Still on security matters, Interior and Coordination of National Government Cabinet Secretary Joseph Olelenku has put on notice members of the Turkana and Samburu communities still holding on to firearms. The security situation in the region continues to be delicate after the killing of over 40 police officers last year at the Suguta Valley. Numerous disarmament exercises conducted in the region have been unsuccessful, with communities holding on to their firearms. However, since his appointment, Olelenku has maintained that those fueling insecurity in northern Kenya would be brought to book. Olelenku has also held private talks with security leaders from that region.
Labda mumebembelezwa ya kutosha. That is too bad. Naomba, tafadhali, nothing like that. Hakuna. Peace must be in Samburu, like the way peace must be in Kenya.
And as the Samburu residents await the government directive to be heeded, relatives of a man who was physically tortured by a gang in Isiolo County for over a week are calling on authorities to apprehend the perpetrators. They claim the gang that tortured their loved one in a forest and left him for dead is still at large and is linked to a local politician in the region. Sophia Wanuna reports.
After what he says were 8 days of torture, these are the scars he bears after a 15-member gang kidnapped 36-year-old Andrew Lesengai. The gang accused him of having stolen a gun from a former councillor in Isiolo. They wanted it back, but he says he never stole the said gun.
Peleka mpaka msituni, akanitesa huko na gengi ya watu, wanapata watu 16 wote wakiwa na mabunduki, wakanitesa tangu siku ya Ijumaa.
His family now wants authorities to take action against those who kidnapped and brutally assaulted him, including the former Isiolo councillor who they believe is linked to the gang.
Ulete basi ulalamishi asaidie hii kijana ndio apate hata matibabu. Ndio apate hii matibabu kwa sababu hii kijana ameumishwa na hakuna kitu ya mtu amekula.
Lesengai was found in a bush in the Tane area of Ngaremara where he had been left for dead.
You're watching Saturday Night Live. Thank you for staying with us. We are taking a short break. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now to a discovery that will leave university administrators in shock. There are cartels of rogue university students who are operating within various campuses in the country, soliciting for payments from individuals or groups planning to hold events at university grounds. One such group at the University of Nairobi today barred KTN from broadcasting live from the university grounds, despite the fact that KTN had booked and paid for the grounds and the administration had given the go-ahead. And as KTN's Wilkie Sanyabo reports, the students harass guests and organizers, even in the presence of university security personnel. Take a look.
First, they attempted to drag her off the field with them, but she resisted. They would eventually settle for holding her in place as they deleted data from her phone. These young men are students at the University of Nairobi, while the young lady was a guest. The students had taken offense at the fact that she had recorded the morning's events on her mobile phone, the events that saw the KTN Straight Up live show broadcast cancelled. The show was scheduled to air live from the university's graduation grounds. Letters had been written to the administration, approval secured, the guests ready and the stage set. But just before the show began, persons claiming to be students stand up claiming they had been left out of the preparations. $60,000 would however smooth their ruffled feathers.
Na kenye mngefanya mngekutana na huyu jamaa kitambo. Unaona? Mmalize naye. Hakuna mtu mwenye angeona.
Yes, ndiye angeongea nao.
Unaona? Yeye ndio sasa angemaliza nao watu wote angeambia hawa watu mlishamaliza nao, wacheni wafanye nini?
The man in a checked shirt claimed he was a member of the students' organization of the University of Nairobi. The rest claimed to be from various campuses, and as the camera rolled unknown to them, the group of 7 to 10 youth revealed that they make their money from charging groups for events held at the campus.
So how much do you pay? How much do you pay?
Magua gives us 100K for him to conduct this graduation here.
100,000.
That's how we get our revenue. That's how we get it. We don't have other sources.
Apparently, this happens in almost all campuses around the country, and this lot would not budge.
If you get a letter from Amogonda or from go to Gandhi Wing. That is his office. Organize that event there.
But this other place is yours.
This is ours.
By chance that you graduate, because eventually you guys will graduate, right? So you like pass on the
baton to someone else.
Yes.
Continue. Yes, because I had pressed it. I pressed the button. Okay, and I want to ask you a question.
Questions abound as to whether the university is aware of the goings-on. Attempts to reach the administration for comment were futile, and when it became clear that the show wouldn't go on, crew members and their guests were forced to pack up and leave. Wilkisanyapwa, KTN in Nairobi.
KTN crew, they're having a difficult time negotiating with the students' lift. Now you have an idea of some of the problems we go through to have a live broadcast. Let's move on. And the Senate Committee of Energy, Transport and Roads, chaired by Baringo Senator Gideon Moi, has called on the government to fully support the Geothermal Development Company in order to achieve Vision 2030. Speaking earlier today at Menengai in Nakuru County during a visit at the Geothermal Company, Gideon noted that the company lacks government support and resources that would enable it contribute to the development of the country. He added that the country needs to have adequate power in order to compete with the rest of the world. He, however, stated that the Senate committee is already in support of the move. Other senators present during the visit included James Mungai of Nakuru County, Otieno Kajwang of Homa Bay, Chris Obure of Kisii, and Sami Leshore of Samburu County, among others.
It is important that the government supports the GDC company. It's extremely important. They are lacking in some of the resources which they need, and as a committee we are going to bat for them to ensure that they get the necessary resources in order for them to deliver for the 2030 and to deliver to the people of Kenya.
Let's now take you to Busia, where 2 widows in that county are fighting attempts by relatives and neighbors to disinherit them of land. One widow was recently bitten by her in-laws in an attempt to evict her from her late husband's land because she is barren. A non-governmental organization dealing with human rights has intervened in the land dispute involving the 2 widows by hiring lawyers to help the widows defend and protect their right to the land. Patrick Amimo has more.
Sylvia Knight Ojuando was thoroughly beaten by her in-laws in Butula village in Busia County over her continued stay on this piece of family land. Her crime is that she did not bear any child with her husband who died in 1993. Her in-laws now want to evict her from the property. And not far away in Marachi Central location, Judith Ayeko and her family is apprehensive. A neighbor wants to grab her land. She says the land in dispute was bought in 1979. But after her husband died in 2006, a neighbor has been using the courts to intimidate her. Human rights defenders have come to the rescue of the two widows to ensure they are not dispossessed of property.
Her cases has been forwarded to FIDA for purpose of now real that constant policy and law follow-up process.
Cultural practices and socialization, together with weak provisions in the law of succession, have seen many widows, barren women, orphans and children born out of wedlock often end up in family feuds with their relatives over inheritance. Under the customary laws of most ethnic communities in Kenya, a woman cannot inherit land and only lives on land as a guest of male relatives by blood or marriage. The Federation of Women Lawyers in Kenya, FIDA, has been pushing amendments to correct discriminatory inheritance laws to comply with the Constitution. For instance, the organization wants the Law of Succession Act amended to give a surviving spouse an absolute interest in the entire matrimonial home, personal and household effects, and 1/3 of the residue estate, rather than mere life interest in the home and an absolute interest only in the personal and household effects. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
All right, let me take a breather. We'll be right back. Stay with us.